Well, I didn't join the Army. I was drafted right after I got my degree in 1968. I had gotten my degree from Olivet College and was married. I had signed a contract a month prior to my graduation to teach and coach at South Haven. Got a little letter from my uncle, Sam's his name, Uncle Sam, and he said I should report for a physical on July, I think it was the 10th. And I reported for the physical, figured it was just a routine thing that they were checking to see how fit people were in my area, but that wasn't the case. They were going to draft me and did. The front squad, I don't know how far out we were, but I was in a little trench line, and they had gone down the trench line and turned 90 degrees to the right when they hit it. In the process, two guys had fallen back and gotten up on a berm up over the top of the trench line where I was standing. They called for a medic, and I looked up there, and sure enough, hiding in a couple of bushes there without their weapons. I jumped up on the berm, and just before I got to him, I heard an explosion behind me and the ping of metal going into my body from head to foot. That was an RPG, a rocket-propelled grenade, and although it stunned me for a second, I continued on to do what I needed to do. Discovered these two guys were not wounded, but they were very, very scared. Frozen in place, so I dragged the two of them across and into that trench line. And so I told the other two men, follow me, and I started running down that trench line. And then I figured, this is slowing me up, so I got out into the open and probably ran the best 40-yard dash I have ever ran in my life. Then that evening, after I got everybody in and patched up, and Lieutenant Carrier said, Doc, get on. And that's when I remembered that I had gotten hit, and I looked down and I had blood on me, and I said, no, I'm not going. When I was out there in that trench line, I looked up towards the hill, and they looked like lava coming down off that hill. That's how many people there were on that hill. And he said, why not? And I said, you're gonna need me. I'd rather be dead than have heard the next day that one of my men got hit and I wasn't there to save him. So, you know, the big thing on that too is to not only saving those guys and getting them out of the danger area where they can be killed or captured, we can get them back into the fight. We were getting low on men. So after we dusted everybody off the next morning, I think there was 32 of us left. It was two of the worst days of my life, 48 hours, and I can't believe I got an award for those two worst days of my life, but I did. The word intrepidity, as used in the citation, and that means that if you chose not to do the action that you did, it would not be held against you that it's that dangerous. So I think that's an important word to bring out, intrepidity. Above and beyond the call of duty. Well, you've heard me say it before, and you'll hear those that wear this medal, I was only doing my job, and that's the truth. That's why I didn't leave the day before. The job wasn't over. I was to fight till the end and do my job till the end. My father had ingrained that in me. You'll see a lot of those characteristics in the individuals that wear this medal, I think. But remember, I'm wearing this for an incredible group of guys that showed the same thing.
A life member of American Legion Post 49 in South Haven, Michigan, our next speaker earned the Medal of Honor for his amazing bravery and valor during a lengthy battle near Tam Key, Vietnam, from May 13th to 15th, 1969. A medic with the 21st Infantry Division, 196th Light Infantry Brigade, our distinguished guest ran 100 meters through an open field through heavy enemy fire to rescue an injured comrade. Despite his own serious wounds and being heavily outnumbered by the enemy, Our guest rescued 4 other men in similar fashion. When supplies ran low and with complete disregard for his own safety, he volunteered to hold a blinking strobe light in an open area for a night supply drop. During morning darkness, he knocked out a rocket-propelled grenade position with a grenade, fighting and eliminating enemy soldiers. In 2017, he told the American Legion, quote, "I would rather be dead than hear that one of those men died in combat because they didn't have a medic," end quote. He has spent a lifetime coaching youth sports, including 35 years as a leader in American Legion baseball. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome a true American hero, Jim McCloughan. Thank you for being here.
Please be seated. I'd like to thank Dal Punch. He's right down front here, and he reminded me yesterday, make sure you bring some coins, Jim, because he wanted me to give one to all of the recipients here, and I brought an extra one to give to the Commandant. I think he makes those coins for me. I think he wanted me to hand out as many as I could, so I'd have to buy some more. But I'd also like to thank all of you in the American Legion for allowing me to be here this special day. Shri and I, my wife, stand up, honey, down front. She's right here in the front row. Stand up. I couldn't do this without her. I call her my calendar girl, and she makes sure everything's straightened out on certain dates that we have to agree to or decline. But we're just both honored to be here as part of the 101st Convention as this American Legion begins its 2nd century. I have to tell you ahead of time, I have to be excused from your 150th. I won't be able to be there. The American Legion has been there for me many, many times, and I'd like to list 8 things, just 8 things, and they're just a few things that the American Legion has done for me. I played baseball for Post 49 in Michigan as a 15-year-old in 1961, of course, played a few more years after that. You filled the gaps for me the summer of 1970, assisting me with some money as I was released from the Army, and I had 2 months' time before I would start my teaching and coaching job and before I would get my first paycheck. The GI Bill, written by veterans for veterans, allowed me to get my master's degree in psychology from Western Michigan University. It allowed me to purchase a home and start a family. We have 4 grown children and 7 grandchildren. 10 years after playing for South Haven Post 49, I revitalized their program, and I managed and coached it for 35 years from 1973 to 2007. Last year, I was the keynote speaker at Michigan's 100th convention and was honored by being the Legionnaire of the Year. Last August, at the American Legion Baseball World Series in Shelby, North Carolina, I sang the national anthem, and I threw out the first pitch, plus Midland, Michigan was there, and Dale got me an honorary coaching position on the team when they played that first day, and they won, so I'm 1-0 at the national level. Dale said you couldn't make it on your own, so I got you an honorary coaching job. The last week of July of this year, I was a guest speaker at Summit, West Virginia, as the World Scouting Jamboree took place there. It happens every 3 years, and the last time it was in the United States was in 1967 in Idaho. And now, here I am at the National Convention, just humbled to be here amongst the greatest people on this great earth. As you go home to your Legion post and to represent your state, I urge you to follow the advice that my father gave me when I was quite young. He said, you never do anything halfway, Jim. You do it to the best of your ability, and make sure you do it until the job is finished. And you know, my dad was speaking in my ear when that commander told me to get on the helicopter that first night. He knew that my job was not finished. There are some things that I'd like to share with you. Number one, 3 things right here, right off the bat. We did not lose the war in Vietnam. I've said that for 50 years since I returned from home from that war. The fall of Saigon came on April 30th, my birthday, 1975, 2 years after the Americans had left Vietnam. General Westmoreland has quoted one of the historians of the Vietnam War, Professor Douglas Pike, as saying, quote, "We did not lose a battle of any significance. It was almost an unprecedented performance by our fighting men. The war was a major defeat for the NVA and the VC." To those here who fought in Vietnam, I'd like to say thank you for your service and welcome home. I'd also like to thank those who support every serviceman who fights in every war. We could not do that without those back home, our friends and our family. So thank you so much. You are also part of that particular fighting unit that supports us and inspires us to do what we have to do. And third, the Vietnam veterans stopped communism from spreading to all of the countries from Singapore down to the Philippines. I'm sorry that it took 50 years to recognize you all. We stopped that spread of communism because they didn't want to mess with the American fighting man. They knew that if they tried to make those countries communist too, we would be right there fighting against any dictator in the world. During the Vietnam War, 9.7 million were actually in the military. 2.5 million were deployed to South Vietnam. And now there are 14 million wannabes across the nation who say they fought in Vietnam and they never, ever were in the service. Now, this might make you angry, but I want to calm you down by telling you why they want to be you. If the media, the protesters, and those who make documentaries portraying you as the bad guy, why do 14 million people want to be like you? It's a great answer and a simple answer. Because you are not the bad guy. You're an ABA, an American badass. I will refer to that as the ABA from now on out. Here's some of the reason that you're an ABA. When it was your turn to serve, you didn't run and hide. You joined and took the place alongside of others to fight. You raised your hand and you repeated the military oath and you confirmed your commitment to America and its ideals. You signed your family's name on a line along with 9.7 million other military personnel, and you agreed to die for your country, its people, and our way of life if it came down to that. You worked your butt off in basic training and advanced training so that you could do your duty to the best of your ability as you got closer and closer to being an ABA. You became a member of the biggest team you will ever be a part of, no matter what your job or branch of service is. You stepped into a plane or onto a ship and you headed to a land way away from where you grew up. A land that you probably never heard of and you certainly had never been there before. You fought for a group of human beings who could not defend themselves. You were a part of the toughest military force in the world, and might I say, the most intelligent and compassionate. You were one of the big brothers or big sisters of the United States of America. You were thousands of miles from those that you love, yet you kept your focus on your mission. Between fights, you tried to write a letter home, but you made sure you didn't tell them what was really happening in that hell on earth because you didn't want those back home, friends and family, worrying about you. At night, on your watch in your foxhole, you dreamed about the time that you would get on that freedom bird and join your family and be safe on American soil again. You saw those you grew to love deeper than family get wounded or lose their lives. And often you felt helpless because you couldn't save them. You gave, and then you just kept right on giving to bring as many of your brothers and sisters home as possible. You looked on with that 10,000-yard stare as some of your men were put on choppers and planes in flag-draped coffins, or were wheeled on without some of the body parts that they came there with. You had medals pinned on your chest and ribbons placed on your uniform. But all you really wanted to do was go home. You saw and experienced things that you had never, ever seen before and you will never see again. Things you cannot talk about because no one would believe you if you told them anyway. Yes, you didn't know at the moment what you had accomplished, but as a teacher and a coach for 40 years, I'm here to tell you that you took the biggest test of your life and you aced it. You played in the toughest game of your life and you won. You had officially become an ABA. You didn't care about the medals and the awards that you accumulated over the passing of that test and the winning of that game, even though you earned them. You just were thankful to be home and alive. You came home, you started a career, raised a family, built a home, and tried to ignore what some were saying. Though many around you talked about what they thought you had done, they had no idea what you really had experienced. So you just chewed it up, spit it out. Those who have falsely labeled you and your war will be forever ignorant of what you have endured. Don't expect those who haven't walked a mile in your boots to know and understand what you've done. Just know in your heart and in your soul that you are a savior of many, even those yet to be born. Each and every one of you who are a member of a group called the Vietnam Veterans, you did something that no one else has ever done. It's unprecedented. No one in any other war has done this. 98% of you were honorably discharged. And you've continued that remarkable character as you serve your family, your church, your community, your state, and this great nation. Those on memorial walls in Washington, D.C., though, they're the real heroes. Any of us here who have fought alongside them will tell you that that is the truth. These men gave up 2 lives. The life that they were living when it was cut short, and the life that they never got to lead. They never got to meet their soulmate or watch the birth of a child, their child, or maybe coach that child on a little league team or go to that high school graduation. Never got to walk their little girl down the aisle and celebrate that special father-daughter dance at the end of the ceremony. They never, ever were able to be at the holidays, the anniversaries, and the special family gatherings that each of us have enjoyed throughout the year. They gave 2 lives so that we may enjoy the one that we're living here now. It's sad that there are very few, but there are a few people that disrespect our national symbol during the national anthem. The only reason they can do that is because you fought for them to be able to make a choice to do it. But I pray that they will find some other way to express their protest. I would like to point out that there are thousands of people standing and saluting our national symbol, the same flag that draped your brother and sister's caskets and accompanied them home. Know this, my fellow Legionnaires, you are in every wave and every wrinkle of that flag. As the wind whips it across the sky, it is you that has given it wings to fly. You are the epitome of an ABA hero, and I am proud to be called one of your brothers in arms. God bless you all. God bless the American Legion. And on a final note, I'd gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
These now, the challenge coin and the medallion.
Thank you, God.
Okay. Jim, don't leave yet. I know that you're already a life member in the American Legion Department of Michigan, but I have an American Legion diamond lapel pin that I would like to give you. I know that I speak for the entire delegation in saying we are proud to serve with you in the American Legion. God
Thank
bless
you
you.
so much. Thank you so much.
And let's get a photo here if we can.